Everyone from California to Boston to Florida will always tell you what they want. No one will ever tell you who they must become in order to execute against the life that I want.
That's what I'm talking
Always
about.
strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. Lying, stealing, manipulating, sociopath, took the easier route. Fixed mindset, didn't believe in myself.
Don't want to be able to call up Eddie and Sylvie and be like, hey, Hannah and I are going to Italy tomorrow. Do you want to go? And you're like, yeah, sure.
Right? It's great to give you freedom with the sacrifices that you're making today.
Freedom is what a lot of people don't understand that they're after. They're actually after freedom. What's up, everybody? This is Vic Hill, 007 Streams with the 83K Way podcast. Today, we have a very old friend of mine, one of the crazier ones. We have Eddie Barrett here, one of my good friends from 10 years ago now, I think it is.
Going on 10.
Going on 10 years. Local entrepreneur. Came here, what? When did you come to LA? 07. Yeah, so... go ahead and tell everybody kind of like who you are, what you're about, what you do, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty about Eddie.
Yeah, nitty gritty on Eddie. Eddie Barrett, born and raised right outside Detroit. Came here in 2007. Put Detroit in my rearview mirror then. Have not looked back. Owner, operator, LA Social Cafe, learner, writer, future speaker.
And new father.
And new father as well. Yep, got a gorgeous baby boy.
Nice.
8 weeks old.
And amazing husband.
Yeah.
Powerhouse couple.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to have to ask the wife on that. Depending what day it is and what time of the day.
Did you clean the kitchen today? I don't know.
That's why she calls me Cinderetti.
Cinderetti
always cleans.
Well, dude. Ooh, good margarita. Thanks again for coming in, bro. Absolutely. I know it was a bit of a drive, but you are the final episode of the season. Oh. So episode 10.
Okay.
And I feel like you're going to be dropping a lot of gems on here just because I know you that well. I know that you have quotes, you have books, you have a whole mantra that you live by that, you know, some people from the outside looking in can look at in two ways. They'll look at it and be like, oh, you know, he's another one of those motivating guys. Or they can look at it and say, like, let me align myself with this guy because everything that he's said he's going to do, he's been doing. Like, you've been knocking shit out of the park.
Yep.
So, and it's been awesome to see for me because, you know, her most beach days are very different days.
Yeah, way different.
Yeah, so anyways, man, like the 83K, what we focus on is the journey, the sacrifices you've made. I know you've been through a lot in the years that I've known you. So, yeah, let's talk about that. Where did the motivational aspect, entrepreneurial aspect to Eddie really start? Was it high school? Was it just after? Was it when you came to LA? Like, where did that start?
The motivational aspect didn't really start until I met my wife, really. Because before her, I was just what I call king of remedial jobs. So I would put myself in smaller and smaller rooms because that's all I believed I was capable of. And a very fixed mindset. So I didn't really grasp that growth mindset until I really met Sylvia because I didn't do what I'm doing for years. Because of my programming, because of the culture in which I was raised in, I would literally see people with degrees and MBAs and credentials I don't have. And I convinced myself, you know, I couldn't do it. And not only somebody's opinion of you does not have to become your reality, but you have to work on yourself every single day, man. Go all out and just find a way to win. In spite of your setbacks, in spite of the disappointments, in spite of the failures, I tell people, man, you will fail your way to success. Yep. And Les Brown has a really good quote, man. He said, when life knocks you down,
here's the first
try
one.
to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And that's the mantra that I live by. And so to go back, really differentiating a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. When I was in my 20s, I had a fixed mindset, meaning my talent, skills, and abilities were fixed straight at birth. I thought my brain stopped growing at 25 years old. And when I met Sylvia, she really instilled that belief in me.
And she's a psychologist.
She is. She's a licensed therapist. She's an LMFT. I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
It's been amazing seeing her.
Yeah.
Both of your growth. I mean, I remember when she was studying for that.
She was studying for it. I met her when she was going into her master's program, and she said, look, I want to be here. I have goals, dreams, aspirations. I'm taking actionable steps. I'm being purposeful, deliberate, constructing my days. This is where I am. This is where I want to go. You can either go with me or you can just stay in the South Bay. I see a lot of potential in you, but where you are is not taking you where you want to go. And there's a great philosopher who said, look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. Awesome. And what she saw, she looked beyond my faults and saw my needs. Yep. And I think a lot of the times in life that you need people that are going to be in your corner. Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest, but he never won a championship without Angelo Dundee. And Michael Jordan never won a championship without Phil Jackson. So you got to have something and people that are going to be in your corner when you're in the arena of life, being brave and daring with your life.
So that's a good point, having people in your corner as well. So when you started out, I mean, I know you were bartending, you were in a few places in Hermosa, right?
Oh my gosh.
Where all were you at that point?
I bounced around at so many jobs, and it was because mostly I was fired, let go, walked out. And I just took life for granted. I was very egotistical, borderline sociopath, and just manipulating, lying, stealing, trying to do everything to get my way, taking the easier route in life, anything that I could. And that's why I put myself in smaller and smaller rooms. And it was really soul-wrenching. Wow. But by the time that I got into my later 20s and Sylvia came into my life and she started believing in me, shortly after that, I had a gentleman named Keenan come into my life, and he worked for Black House Hospitality. Okay. And he was the beverage director. And he's like, you have so many soft skills. You're charismatic, you have a great attitude, but you have no hard skills at all. Meaning you can't build Excel sheets, you can't formulate costs, you don't know how to negotiate with purveyors, but I can teach you. So I just sat humbly at his feet, drank his knowledge in, tucked my ego under the rug, and got the power that really I needed to execute against the life that I wanted.
So you had a champion who was in your corner.
That really taught me the hard skills, but before on that was belief. Was Sylvia really installed that belief. And the impediment really from where you are to who you want to become is just a gap in skill set. Always. And that skill is belief. That is the number one skill anyone should develop, is belief. Like, humans lead with belief, meaning you don't do something and then believe you can do it. You won't even take the first step if you don't believe your actions will be rewarded with results. And that's why so many people are stuck. That's why so many people are paralyzed, because they think they're not worthy. They know they're not yet the person
change your mindset
to execute against life. And that's fine. You're not. Your skill set has gotten you as far as it's going to take you. So if you are unsatisfied with where you are today, I have some horrifying news for you. I'll chase you with some good news, but first let's start with the bad. Your life is an exact reflection of the choices that you've made.
Always.
That's it. It comes down to skill set and choices. You've chosen to do certain things, take certain risks, play certain things safely. Now your life is a reflection of that.
That is... I look at that. I talk to the fiance about that all the time. Like, looking back on pictures, and it's 3 years ago, you know, and it's just like, man, remember we were in that little room and, you know, we couldn't afford to do this, or we had aspirations to do this, and it was purely a mindset shift or enhancement. Because at least for us, like, the mindset was there. It was just like, how do we figure out this puzzle and put it all together to where it makes the best sense for us?
Right.
And I think a lot of folks miss out on that, where they get stuck in the, I don't know how to do it, so I'm just gonna stay here. You know. But yeah, that's amazing, man. Like, how long has the process been for you when you hit that level where you're like, dang, like, I need to make a change, or Sylvia brought that out? When was that? How long ago was that?
It was 2015. It was 2015. Okay. So I almost lost my life in a car accident, December 21st of 2014. I hit 3 parked unoccupied vehicles, and I flipped my car twice, and I almost lost my life. And I was just spiraling in the midst of despair, of just depression, anxiety, hopelessness. I just didn't know where I wanted my life to go. And then I remember the next day, for the first time in my entire life, I looked in the mirror and I said, you are failing because of you. Ooh. And that's the first time in my entire life where I took accountability, responsibility, and ownership of my life. And I started making conscious, deliberate, determined choices, different decisions all day long, contextualizing gratitude, being more grateful for things, the appreciation, being more conscious of the decisions that I was making. And then 8 months later, Sylvia came into my life.
I was just about to ask.
Make better decisions, you get different results.
Yeah.
And so I started to go back and transforming my mind into a growth mindset. When I discovered that your brain does not stop growing at 25 years old, neuroplasticity, meaning we have a brain that adapts and changes in response to challenge your entire life. So there's a malleability and muscularity to your habits, rituals, and routines for your entire life.
Yep.
So right there switched me. It gave me that intellectual hardware that I needed to go out and accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish. So I needed to put myself under the stress and pressure. And what's that saying? Pressure can bust pipes, but it also can make diamonds.
Yes, it can.
So to actually reveal if it is a diamond, you literally have to put it under heat and pressure.
Yep.
So you have to challenge yourself neurophysiologically in your body. You have to actually challenge yourself to unwire and rewire some good habits, rituals, and routines that are just going to take you places that motivation will never ever go. Motivation's garbage, by the way.
What was what was one of the key habits? So I know you and I both 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m.
Yep.
We're both up like, hey, what's up? Gym time.
Yep.
But outside of that, what was one of the key habits that kind of changed, that helped you make that shift?
One pivotal realization that really helped me make that shift of grabbing a hold of my morning routine was putting on a motivational video in the first 20 minutes that you wake up. A calibrated morning routine is key because it's not about when you wake up. It is how you wake up. So how you wake up. So the first 20 minutes that you wake up, your brain is operating at 10.5 wave cycles per second. That's actually when the subconscious mind is most impressionable. It's actually when the cortisol levels are highest as well. And that's actually when you're in the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight. Yep. So as you're listening to the motivational, something nurturing and empowering in your life, you switch your whole autonomic system, which is the nervous system, into the parasympathetic nervous system. So now you're in rest and relax. Yep. And you're actually in that zone to surround yourself with better thoughts, better decisions, better energy as well. The environments that you go into and the people that you're connected to automatically become better because you're helping yourself first before you can actually help the environments that you're into and the people. So that right there, right when you wake up, and the night before I already set it up. So I have Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Zig Ziglar, Dwayne Dyer.
See, that's awesome. You're setting it up before the morning.
I'm already setting it up.
Some people wake up and they're like, I need to do this and do this. Oh, it's too late. Now I just got to start my day.
They make excuses for themselves. Absolutely. Yeah, calibrated morning routine is set up by a nightly routine. Yeah. You got to grab a hold of your nightly routine as well because we all have the habit of grabbing our phone. All of us. Yeah. But we can use it as a trigger because that trigger is to pick up our phone reflexively. But if you can pick up your phone and then right when you swipe up, there's already a motivational video. You've already done the work.
That's
so
amazing.
You just listen to that 20 minutes. And then from there, I do a little bit of writing, and then the workout sets the day up. So all of those things go into my morning ritual.
That's right. You're writing a book, right?
Yep. I'm writing a book. It's called The Physics of Being Human.
Ooh.
It's going to be out summer of 2022. I'm really excited about it.
Okay.
So it's just going to be actionable, easily digestible steps that you can take. It's relatable, it's reliable, it's definitely relevant that people can actually use.
Yeah.
I went from scrounging enough change literally in my couch cushions to building a very, very nice business.
Yes.
So
LA Social Cafe.
LA Social Cafe, absolutely. So the central thesis of my life, it's not about where you are or where you started. It matters who you want to become and what price are you willing to pay to get there.
Yep.
Everyone from California to Boston to Florida will always tell you what they want. No one will ever tell you who they must become in order to execute against the life that I want.
Too true.
Character of who you are.
Too true.
Identity and values drive behavior. So until you're able to identify your core values and encapsulate that with habits, rituals, and routines, and you're always relying on motivation, you're always going to feel stuck in your life.
So it sounds like it's the deliberate action taking that is the catalyst to making a change or just enhancing where you're currently at. And a lot of folks, and I'm sure there's folks around both of us who aren't willing to do that.
No, they're not. Because they're not aware of how their brain is wired. So calorically, your brain wants to conserve calories because instinctually, biologically, when we're on the Serengeti plain thousands of years ago, hunting saber-tooth tiger in our caveman dwelling days, our brains are designed to keep us comfortable to conserve calories. Then we go out and hunt. So it's designed to keep you really lazy. So unless you actually trick your brain to do something, and the more times you push on, the more times you actually develop the muscle of taking action. You'll develop actually going at it and just not relying on motivation. Motivation's just, it's really just the neurochemical high to the brain is to candy. It's a declining arc. It's extremely fleeting. What separates people is really discipline. And Jim Rohn said discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments.
Discipline is huge. I mean, it's deliberate habits. You know, I know for me personally, it's been 4:30 a.m. Like, alarm is I could set my alarm. I could also turn that shit off right away, snooze it, and not get up. But in my mind, I'm like, look, if I don't do this, I know how I'm gonna feel later. And I'm doing my absolute best to avoid that level of feeling of like, oh, like I didn't even work out, or I don't have time, and I'm always fighting for time. And how do you balance time really with being a new father, being a great husband? I'm gonna keep saying that until Sylvia hears it. Being a great husband, being a good friend. I mean, we've been in the same circle for a long time now. A great human and a businessman on top of that. And then you're working on your own goals on top of your business here. So, and trust me, I get it. So how do you manage your time?
So number one, you have to strip away your distractions. Grab a piece of paper and see what you're distracted about. The great thing about our cell phone is you can go on there and go to your settings and see how many times that you're logging on to Instagram and Facebook. See how many hours you are. Add that up. Multiply
that new focus setting is amazing.
Multiply it. See how many hours. And multiply it by the months and then into the year and see where you could actually put those hours. Now, on the left side, write your priorities down. Where do you want your focus? You have to have deliberate practice and monomaniacal focus, meaning deep focus with your goals. You have to set those priorities, you have to set those boundaries, and you have to get up when the alarm gets up as well. It's like one thing that I learned actually from Tom Bilyeu was he gets up in 10 minutes or less.
Dude, I met him in 2015, I think it was 14, 15.
I didn't even know about Tom then.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I was working at the bank. He came into the bank, had shit ton of money, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Super down to earth, like had his family in there, like just handling business. And from that point on, I've been following him. Like, he's just been a huge catalyst in my own learning of how I can better myself and all that. And he was with Quest, and then
now he's with Impact Theory.
Exactly, man. And it's been amazing to watch. So I completely understand how, like, his stuff has influenced even what you're doing right now. So but I wanted to ask, since this transition, has there been anything specific that you've had to sacrifice along the way? Was it family time, friend time? Like, I know, and I talk about time a lot, but what was it exactly? What has it been that you've sacrificed along the way?
So I'm just going to hit you with a quote right now. I had to divorce the story of my limitations and marry the truth to my unlimited capacity. That was the biggest sacrifice I had to make. That's why change is so hard, because you have to divorce the old story of yourself, and you have to be completely dedicated and committed to the person you want to become. You have to start acting in alignment with the person you want to become in the present moment to close the gap, which is the impediment from where you are to who you want to become. That was the greatest sacrifice I've ever met, was saying goodbye to the old me.
How? I'm glad you brought up the old you.
That was the.
How would you describe the old Eddie?
Lying, stealing, manipulating, sociopath, took the easier route, fixed mindset, didn't believe in myself, didn't believe in my capabilities, didn't live up to my potential, made excuses, complained, blamed, made everyone around me. And that was my thought process. Same thought leads to the same choice creates the same behavior creates the same experience produces the same result in your life.
Yep.
That's why 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. Literally. So if your brain is the computer, then your self-talk is the program that runs a computer. That's why the story that you tell to yourself about yourself is the most empowering thing that you're ever going to craft. To go back at that 4:30 a.m. of why are you getting up when your alarm goes off? One of two things. One, you're improving the story that you tell to yourself about yourself. Second, you're earning credibility with yourself. You're improving the story that you tell yourself. That's how you earn self-confidence. Self-confidence is self-trust. And the way that you're going to build that trust is by making a promise to yourself and then keeping it.
What's your promise to yourself now?
What's my promise to myself now is to be the best father that I can possibly be, to be completely committed to my family, to be a great leader to my employees, and completely dedicated in living up to the best potential within myself that God has given me. And I operate that with every single day. And any opposition, adversity, and challenges that I do occur, I use it for a learning experience. 100%. Because as Inky Johnson said, it's not about what you go through, it's how you view what you go through.
Another good one out there.
Yeah, he said your perspective can either be your passport or your prison. And it's not like I wake up every day and be like, adversity hit me. No. But when it comes, I'd be like, this is an incredible opportunity to learn, to grow, to stretch, to impact, and serve others around us as well.
So what sort of adversity have you had to tackle along the way? I mean, LA Social Cafe, that was a huge undertaking.
Yeah, I bought a failing business in December 6th of 2019. It had an identity crisis. It was a dated logo, uninspired menu. I took it over. Freezers started over-freezing. Toasters started going. Sinks started malfunctioning left and right. 3 months later, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
But from then on, when I bought the business, I scraped through everything of my savings, everything that I've ever saved. And then I was literally taking money out of the drawer to buy groceries the next day of how broke I was. And then the pandemic hit 4 months later. Couldn't find groceries, but my thought process was, I know I can learn from it. I can view this as obstacles or just opportunities. I decided that I wanted to view it as an opportunity. So I asked Sylvia, my wife, man, I can't find groceries anymore. What do you want to do? And she's like, well, you've been talking about remodeling, renovating, putting the door on this side. Why don't you call the building owner, see if you can get the door installed?
They're still
Why don't
working.
you get the menu together? So that's what I started doing. I started working with a woman on Etsy to get my menu updated because I know that the foot traffic wasn't going to be as much as before.
Right.
But I could increase the PPA, which is person per average. So I needed to increase what each person was spending per their visit. So I actually set it up. It's called menu engineering. And I set up my menu accordingly so my guest count dropped by 50%. But instead, before, they were spending $6 and about 50 cents a person. It went up to $11.20 a person. So I was actually making more money with 50% less foot traffic in.
That's
and
awesome.
then I brought in DoorDash and Uber Eats.
Yep.
Now we're to a point where finally profitable after 2 years. I go in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday half days. I only work all day on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, you got a new employee, right?
I have 3 employees. We're doing amazing. We grow month over month now. And I'm able to look back on those moments of, wow, I'm really, really happy that I had to go through this because it's who I became that's able me in this moment to contextualize gratitude and appreciation at a whole
And your
level.
wife, Sylvia, worked there with you, at the start of it. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She's a blessing, man. She's a blessing. She is the hardest worker I've ever met, and I'm so blessed to have her in my life. She was working at the county agency at the time. She was studying for her license for her therapy, and she was also working at the cafe because no one wanted to work, so it was just her and I. And we would be slammed. We'd be peeling chicken, baking chicken at night, and then cutting celery and cilantro for our chicken salad the next day. And I'd be in there at 6 a.m. She'd follow through at like 7 a.m. And she was great. She was there through thick and thin. And she always just instilled that belief of we're going to make it and we're going to become better because of it. And it's because you and I did this together that's going to allow us to be successful in life. So I'm able to look back on that. It's just something that you can only grab in those down times that's able to. And I remember I heard this somewhere, the strength and conditioning coach of Georgia Tech, he said, someone somewhere is praying for the things that you take for granted every single day.
Oh my gosh.
And that word faith would not exist if everything was just handed to you, was just given to you in your life. And it's hard to see the blessings that's wrapped in the difficulties, but that's a test. Can you see it? Can you keep believing?
I talk to people all the time about the opportunity that's here rather than focusing on the complaints and the gripes and the, oh my gosh, like, damn, I hate California because of this, or Los Angeles because of this. It's like, dude, if you kind of shift your mindset and focus on all the opportunity that's out here, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anywhere
at all. And you get what you focus on. Denzel said if you focus on a red car, you're going to get a red car, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you are. You literally get what you focus on.
Yep. And so what do you focus on now? What business-wise?
Business-wise?
Yeah.
I focus on putting up better systems and processes that are preceding the ultimate goal. That's where the rubber is going to meet the road. So I need to be more efficient and effective both sides. I need to set up a delivery system that's going to allow us to deliver for the medical arts building, the ICU, the apartments next door, and the residential area. So I'm looking to pair with DoorDash. They have a DoorDash Drive. And the fees go on my side, which is fine because the volume that we're going to do will overlap that at all. You need to make it convenient, fast, friendly, and fresh.
And tasty.
Yes, absolutely. to the guests. So we're growing, but there's always something that you can do better. There's always something that you can do differently. So you need to be able to ask those hard questions. You need to be asking those questions to your employees, and you need to be asking those questions to your guests as well. And they will tell you, hey, I work at the medical arts building, but you don't have a delivery program. I don't want to pay the DoorDash and Uber Eats fees. So I'm looking at making to-go menus where I can just put a scan code on that where they can just scan it and DoorDash will pick it up. They'll go over and deliver it. And I'll just streamline all of it. And that way you're setting up good systems and processes to make it a machine. I have to get a new toaster. I have to have something that's going to do 400 to 450 slices of bread per hour. So I need to set up. That's an exact example. A lot of owner-operators will start peeling away from their business when they start making a little money. And that's when it ends up following through because they don't set up the systems and processes. They're so myopically focused on the goal. Becoming that thing, getting that tick on the box. But what happens if you get it or you don't get it? What happens when life says yes and no? I mean, do you have the ability to embrace what you don't understand is what I like to say? So you got to be able to set it up. And that's enjoying more of the process more than the product. A lot of people love the product more than the process, which they go about. Money's just a byproduct of what you love to every single day.
So what would you say is what's your end goal? I mean, I talk about the why all the time, but I like to transition to what your Z is. What's the end for you? What is success? What does success look like for you when it comes to your business, your family, your friends, your time? How is your time spent when you consider yourself complete?
My mission in life is to honor the people that have paved the way and leave a legacy for the people that are coming up behind me. So I want to live a life that's going to outlive me. I want to have Austin look at the businesses and say, wow, my dad worked incredibly hard to set our family up for success. And I want him to be able to take him over, if not just at least inspire, encourage, and motivate and cultivate that sense of purpose and desire within him. That says, wow, my dad, he built this business and he left it to me. It's not my thing, but to set up that mindset, you're already setting your kid up for a rich mindset. Because, for example, if I just give him $1 million and not set his mindset up, what is he going to do? He's going to go broke. But if I can set him up with a rich mindset, at least when he sees that action, it's going to be able to enrich his mindset in what other area or avenue in life that he's going to go down. That's going to be his mindset.
And so what businesses are those? What does LA Social Cafe transition into for you? Do you want a full-on restaurant? Do you want a bar?
I want a bar.
Okay.
I want a small, chef-driven craft cocktail eclectic spot, 1,500 square feet. I already have a vision for it. I'm big on vision. And there's this place in Redondo that opened up, Vita something, and it's really nice. And it's also comparable to the place that I worked at. I was a bar manager in Redondo, Suburbia. And I want a place just like that. I want to get into the more of the full service because that's what I was a part of all my life.
Okay.
Before 5 years ago, when I would have looked at that, I would have been like, oh my gosh, man, I could never do that. Now I have the cafe and it's growing. And I told you this before, the progress benchmarks. So it's just that every peak of the mountain that you climb is just the bottom of the other one. And then you want to just keep going. And it's just living up to your God-given potential within yourself. But you have to be fully, fully committed. And I would love to have that 1,500 square foot bar, nice cocktails, me going in, greeting the table, go behind the bar, shaking it up. You watch that double shake right there. And I could just see it. I could visualize it.
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps right now. I could literally picture myself in that moment. So
that's amazing.
That right there. I would like to invest into Turo a little more. I'd like to...
Yeah, we're putting our next Tesla on Turo. Yeah.
Maybe
Easy.
real estate. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
You let me know.
It's so young. I mean, I'm so young, 34. So absolutely. And it's just getting those skills and closing the gap. Actionable steps every single day. What can I do? How can I close the gap from where I am to right now? There's a thing that I love. It's called aggressive patience. I love it.
Aggressive patience.
Aggressive patience. So you're patient enough where you're not ruminating to the future where it gives you anxiety, but you're aggressive enough where you're taking one action step that's relevant to your ultimate goal.
I might have to adopt that. Aggressive
will differentiate
patience.
You between a goal setter and a goal achiever.
Yeah.
Aggressive patience. So
Love
you
it.
don't have that anxiety in the future, but you're aggressive enough every single day that you're taking those actionable steps.
That's good.
Intention is nothing without action, man, and action is nothing without intention. So you can have a book in your house, but if you don't read it, it doesn't count. You can have a treadmill if you don't use it. And intention is nothing without action.
Yep.
So you got to put it into action.
You know what? That's huge. I was just talking to previous guest Heather about this book, and it was like 4,000 weeks or something like that, and it was talking about your lifespan and how many weeks you have to live and what your how many weeks you actually dedicate to what you're trying to do, to yourself, to your growth and all that.
Right.
And for me, like, time is huge. Like, I have symbology of time all tattooed on me because it's the only thing that's fleeting, really.
Right.
You can't get it back.
Nope.
So for you to say, all these things about how you utilize your time and your goals and your commitment to your habits and discipline and things like that is right in alignment with what a lot of people need to hear, really. We have so many distractions.
Yep.
We have all the social media. We have all the streaming services. We have... I haven't watched regular TV in a while, but we have regular TV. We got movies and all this stuff and the news that just, pollutes a lot.
Yeah.
How do you eliminate all that? How do you eliminate the noise, focus on your goal of eventually having that full service, spot that you want? I'm going to go. Opening, let me know.
Yeah.
But how do you eliminate it?
That's a great question. And it's having what I call boundaries in your life. So as soon as I get home from the restaurant, where I put my keys, I put my cell phone. So I made it a habit of putting it in there. I'm going to rewind real quick. A habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts and behaviors and emotions that's acquired through repetition. So you have to do it over and over until it's baked inside your nervous system where you do it reflexively. We'll fast forward. When I put my keys in there, I make that conscious effort. And over time, through repetition in the brain, I build the neural circuitry that's associated with that skill set. Yes, stripping away distraction and becoming focused on your goals is a skill. So putting that cell phone in the drawer is a habit. Right when I get home, where my keys, cell phone, I ask the wife, how's your day? Anything I can help out with? Usually it's washing the bottles or taking care of the baby real quick. And seeing how her day is, because even though if I'm having a stressful day, you can always de-stress somebody else's life by asking just a simple question. What can I do for you? And it's powerful. It's easier to stay on the couch. It's easier to go out with your boys. It's easier not to deal with your issues. It's easier to just be comfortable and avoid and disassociate yourself from everything that can actually bring that progress and achievement. That's why most challenges are more exacerbated, because
Yeah.
you disassociate yourself from the things. So just asking, like, how can I help is so powerful on the other side. It's like, wow, he does care. I know he had a long day, but he does want to help out a little bit.
Yeah.
And that nourishes that relationship at a whole new level of what I found. It's literally the small things. Her working on the computer and bringing her a glass of water when she doesn't ask. Walking past in the house and grazing her hand and saying that you love her. All those little things
All
that
the
you
little
could
things.
do. It adds up. It adds up. Especially with women. They love that stuff. Louis Vuitton purse, it's sitting there 2 days later. They don't even care about it anymore.
Yeah.
You didn't say hi to me when you walked in. Oh, okay, well, you know.
Yeah. I thought I bought you a... Never mind.
Right?
So,
and then from there, I dedicate myself, I call it the 3 R's. Something that's relatable, reliable, and relevant to my business every single day. Mm-hmm. So as I'm diving into the DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, and Grubhub reviews, Yelp reviews, I want to really soak in that information. Any feedback, any criticism, anything that I can really make my business better. Mm-hmm. So I really focus on 30 minutes on that and trying to make my business better in that aspect, and as well as researching and learning new prospects with like different restaurants.
So it sounds like you've been able to master the concept of deep work.
Somewhat, yes.
You know,
it's a work in progress.
To be able to focus, absolutely focus for a period of time on something that can contribute to the rest of your life is, I mean, that's a skill.
Right.
I try and hone that in every single week is I'm like, okay, 1 hour is focused to this, no distractions.
It's hard.
You know?
It's very difficult.
So we've talked about where you started, kind of, and what you've had to sacrifice along the way. Sylvia coming into your life.
Huge.
Yeah, huge shift for you.
Keenan coming into my life.
Yes, Keenan. Yeah, so that's 2 people who have been in your corner and helped you get to where you are now. And we talked a little bit about, you know, what you want to do, which is I fully support. So if you want to look at spots, I'm down. Real estate wise, let's go.
All right.
From where you were to where you are now, in saying that you've done all this in your 30s. I think you've done all this in your 30s.
I didn't get my mindset together until I was 29, till after my car accident.
Yeah. So when it comes to this empire you're building, you know, for Austin, and you guys having more kids?
We're thinking about 1.
All right.
So we'll say kids. We'll go plural.
All right. So this empire that you're building, is it all centered around being a, what do you call it, restaurateur? Is it all centered around that? Because, I mean, in conversations with you, man, like you can talk about that all day.
Oh, yeah.
The restaurant industry. And you've been doing that since I met you. Yeah.
Been doing it for 20
you've been able to speak on that. So is that the primary for you, or are you going to get into public speaking? I mean, I know you can do that. TEDx, you know, do something like that.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I think those
what's
are
around the corner?
Some big goals as well. I want to finish up the book.
Yeah.
I want a bigger house. The house that we're in now is a little smaller, so we're actually going to start looking into
the one you just bought.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Always
about.
strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. See, you don't want to be on the bottom. No. It doesn't take any effort to be a loser.
Nope.
It doesn't take any motivation and any drive to stay down there on a low level.
No, you can just chill at the bottom.
Calls on everything in you, man.
Trust me, even just to get where I'm at now, it's been, I mean, you know, I haven't been around a lot. I've been, you know, there's a lot of sacrifices along the way that people are not willing. I don't remember last time. I do remember last time. I went to a Chargers game about a week or 2 ago. Going to that game was the first game I've actually watched in full for years. Any game.
And that just shows you the level of sacrifice and discipline.
Yeah, like I don't watch much TV. I'm always like, okay, like I need a deep work. You know, I need to dedicate this time to enhancing my business, but not for monetary sake.
Right.
You know, it's for the lifestyle. Like, how do I want to utilize my time? Do I want to always be working until I'm 70? Or next year, do I want to be able to take a vacation every month? You know? Do I want to be able to call up Eddie and Sylvia and be like, hey, Hannah and I are going to Italy tomorrow. Do you want to go? And you're like, yeah, sure.
Right? It's great to give you freedom with the sacrifices that you're making today.
Freedom is what a lot of people don't understand that they're after. They're actually after freedom, and they assume that they have it now.
Right.
No, not really. I mean, you work a 9 to 5 the rest of your life. Most of your life has been spent working for someone, unless you're leveraging it to free yourself. You know, so how are you leveraging your time now? And have you put a timeline together to where you're like, yeah, by 40, I'm, you know, LA Social Cafe is good, the other spot is good, and Sylvia and I are good. We're just, you know, raising our kids and managing our businesses.
I haven't put a tentative timeline on when I want to peel away from the businesses, but I do put weekly goals, hourly goals, minute goals, monthly goals. I'm always really focused on my goals. I feel like you're moving either towards your goals or away from your goals. So whatever I do, action steps, I'm always moving towards my goals. So I want to get a bigger house next year.
What's bigger?
2,500 square feet.
Good.
We're at 1,300 square feet.
All right.
I want a pool.
I want a pool too.
I want a gate around it. And I want the 2021 Shelby GT 500 with silver with black stripes across it with Recaro seats, a handling package, and a technology package parked in the driveway.
He's been sending that in our group chat for so long.
I'm a huge car guy. My whole family worked in factories in Detroit. That's where I'm from, so it's the muscle car capital of the world. Just to backtrack a little bit. So I ended up falling in love with cars at like a very, very young age. Very, very young age.
I'm after the Aston Martin, bro.
Okay. I love it.
For context, you know, I put in our dream board, just like a shared photo album, just real quick, easy. We put 2 Teslas and an exotic. The exotic was Aston Martin. I have been a fan of James Bond for years. And the newest Aston Martin that they're coming out with, it's a concept right now. And I put that on the dream board.
Oh, nice.
There was like an image of a garage, and it had 2 Teslas and an exotic in there.
That's awesome.
We just got the second Tesla, or ordered it. Should be here in a few weeks. But like, to say that you're more than halfway to a certain goal is huge.
Yeah.
Because a few years ago, I was deployed. I was like saving money, figuring shit out, figuring the relationship out. Like, okay, what am I gonna do when I get back? And it was that diligent, like, deep work, those habits, that discipline. Like, hey, I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm gonna dedicate this time to myself. I'm gonna commit myself to this relationship. I'm gonna, like, all this stuff that kind of just it just makes it fall into place.
It does.
You know, and you sit back a couple years later and you're like, wow, all those little things that I did, like, look at us now. You know? But anyways, man, like, after seeing you and Sylvia for years, going to your bachelorette party, whew, what a time. Shout out to Hassan, you know. That right hook in Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh, man, that was a crazy trip. Great wedding. Gosh, it was like a fairy tale.
I wish I could have made it, man.
I loved your wedding.
Gosh.
But the sacrifice, the discipline, the diligence, what you did got you to where you are today. So
same.
And so it's just little decisions all day long. That's why decision comes from the Latin word, which means incision, which means to cut off from what's not working to your life and to commit yourself to where you want to go. And commitment's not a feeling, commitment's an action. Quoting Keith Johnson again, commitment is staying true to what you said you would do long after the mood that you have set it in has left.
Yes.
Meaning on the days you don't feel like doing it, you still show up and give it everything you got, because character is not something we inherit.
And there's so many days like that.
No. If we only worked on the days that we felt like it, none of us would get much accomplished. I tell people I am the most lazy, self-disciplined SOB that you'll ever meet. You're never, ever going to feel like doing the things you need to do to have what you want. Yeah. Your mind isn't wired that way.
No.
It's going to try to make you feel like things are too big. It's going to try to make you feel like things are too scary. It's going to try to make you feel like now's not the time. I feel like it's really important that what you realize in your life is just you're never going to feel like it.
Never.
But if you push forward and take action anyway, it's like any other muscle. Over time, you start slowly building the muscle of taking action, and you start slowly building the muscle of not listening to what your mind is telling you and operating from your desires instead of your fears.
That brings me to something, though. You have, before you mastered this business mindset,
Yes,
it seems that you mastered your fitness mindset.
I have.
So
Spark by John Rady is a great book.
Okay. Do you think that's played a role into your business mind and your commitment to everything that you're doing now?
Most definitely.
Okay.
The fitness, when I lived in Florida in 2012 and I moved
remember
back
that.
to California, I was sincerely depressed. I was spiraling in amidst my despair. I was just hopelessly lost. And the gym was a moment of self-discovery. It was a moment of reflection, and it gave me that neurochemical high to the brain that I really needed to focus. To go into more of the neuroscience about what happens when you work out. Specifically in the morning, your brain releases BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. John Rady calls it miracle grow for the brain. It releases norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter, and activates this part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that you need for focus, change, and deliberate action. It actually releases dopamine and serotonin, so it counteracts RDS, which is reward deficiency syndrome. So it actually feels like it has enough throughout the day, which is great for discipline. Because discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now.
Yes.
So if you can set up your day that you're saying, oh, I have enough dopamine and serotonin in my brain. I don't need this instant gratification to feel what I have because I have a calibrated morning routine. Then I can actually put off those instant gratifications.
Yep.
And each time you put off an instant gratification and concentrate on what you want most, you actually build the neural circuitry that's associated with what you want to achieve.
And I feel like it also builds that level of delayed gratification. It's kind of just banks it and banks it and banks it.
It's impulse control.
Yeah.
You can infuse that in any area and avenue of your life. If I didn't inculcate that discipline skill, which is a blinding amount of work, it's painful repetition, and boredom is inherent in that process because practice is repetition. Repetition is what? It's doing it over and over again. So if I never practiced that before, prior to getting my business, then I would have just thrown in the towel. I wouldn't even punch my way out of a paper bag. Because I was taking money out of the drawer paying for groceries, and I didn't make any money for 2 years. And I said to myself, it's going to work. I believed in it. I was committed. April 6th, when I reopened from COVID, on April 8th was a Wednesday, a pipe bust above my restaurant and flooded my restaurant 2 inches of water. 2 days. Couldn't pay my rent. Walked in with a bag of groceries. All my inventory slaughtered. Flooded my restaurant. After everything that I sacrificed. And I said, you know what? Come on, Murphy. Murphy's Law. Coming in with some boxing love, man.
Come on, Murphy.
And I said, I'm still going to show up and give it everything you got.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, can I be committed to the process of what I'm doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what I'm doing? Meaning, if I don't get what I'm supposed to get, can I still show up and act if it's day one? And if the situation didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to turn out, can you still take the situation, embrace it, and then figure out a way to add value to not only every person's life that you come in contact with, but every environment that you go into as well?
I'm going to have to start listening to Eddie recordings every morning. You know?
That's why it's so powerful. So you have to build habits that reinforce an identity that's in alignment with your purpose.
Yes.
Habit, going to the gym. Identity, in service of others. When I work out, I feel good. Identity, service of others. When I go into the restaurant, who am I serving? My guest. Yeah. What is my purpose? It's an alignment. Yeah. That's the key. You need to build habits that reinforce an identity that's in alignment with your ultimate purpose. When you have those three, you're unstoppable.
You're unstoppable.
You're unstoppable because you're going to take every obstacle that there is and turn it into as an opportunity to learn. Because that's a fundamentally misunderstood the nature of a failure. The nature of a failure is not to tell you who you are. Yep. The nature of a failure is to tell you why it didn't work. It's to inform. It's to educate. It's to test you. It's to be a gut check to see if you believe in yourself enough even when the world is telling you not to. One of my most powerful tools I use, I call it layering. So it's not what happens to you, it's the meaning that you're giving the experience every single time. And I began to have acronyms for all of these words that I would encounter a lot more. Failure, first attempt in learning. No.
Yes.
No. Next opportunity. and effort never dies. Every single time I would encounter those words, which was a lot more than yes, I would layer it with a new identity of belief.
Sounds like a shirt brand, man.
Two people would look at it the same. Two people can sit in traffic.
Yeah.
Man, I hate my life, 9 to 5, I'm stuck in traffic. Man, this is an incredible opportunity to learn something. I turn my car into a mobile classroom at Traffic University.
Exactly. Let me put a podcast on, like the 83K.
Podcast. What can I learn?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I need to identify that skill. I don't know about menu engineering. Let me just YouTube that. 45 minutes. How long is that drive? 46 minutes. This is a perfect opportunity to learn something new. Hey, what's up, Keenan? Hey, did you learn something about that menu engineering? Yeah, I learned about that, man.
Yep.
I learned about like odd numbers and where you should place this with colors. Not really good with colors, but my wife can actually colorblind. And my wife can see color. Oh, that's great job. Great job utilizing your time.
Bro, I made
reality.
in traffic $1,000 on an options trade.
Oh,
but I
crazy.
could have just like been sitting there complaining or like whining about the traffic, especially here in LA.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's taking those opportunities to change it into how it can benefit you instead of griping and complaining. And I think that just holds so many people back.
Yeah.
All the time.
They do. I mean, I can't help if I'm victimized, but I have the ability to say that I will never, ever be a victim. Because there's always something that you can do differently. There's always something you can do differently. And once you understand you can always make a different choice and get a different reaction, and that's the power in your life. That's the power that you have, is no matter what's going on, you choose to think differently, believe differently, see differently, do differently.
Yep.
All of those are a choice. Read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Lost his whole family in a Holocaust, was I think in 5 different concentration camps. And he said, what people die of the most is a loss for a why. And Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. It's about retaining control. It's about knowing that you own your life. And if you want a different outcome, you can make different decisions. You can do different things. You can start a new narrative. And once you have that new narrative, you understand the power that's in that to take you where you want to go.
So what if people have their why? What if people have their why? It's driving them, they get it, and they don't stop. They're never satisfied. What is that Z for them? How do they figure out their Z? How do they figure out their end?
It's just their monetary reward that's giving them that dopamine and serotonin rush constantly. That
is it all
at the gold bucket at the end of the rainbow that they're constantly chasing. That's not as gold as they thought.
I think that's a huge deal, is understanding that you have your why, you figure that out. That is a huge driving force. I love The Big Five for Life. Huge, but I love that book.
Yeah.
Love that book. I've read it multiple times. Fiance's read it. We give it as gifts now.
I have not read it, so I will have.
I will give it to you. It's right over. It's
Thank
right
you.
over there.
Thank you very much. I was checking out that book.
But
okay.
dude, like figuring out your big five for life, and the way they frame it is, you know, people go on safaris in Africa, and they're like, I need to see these 5 to make it a good vacation or trip and experience. I need to see these 5 animals, and that will validate what I've spent, the time I spent, the money I've spent, and all that.
Yeah.
When you figure out your big 5 for your life, you know, what are those things that are your driving force, and what is your end state to where once you've done that, you're like, you know what? I've done really well. The museum of my life, if someone was to go to a museum and it was the display of my life, would it be me miserable for majority of my day in traffic at a job, in traffic again, and then rushing to get dinner ready or something like that? Or would it be the level of happiness and commitment and satisfaction that I've had throughout my life because I've committed myself in that way? I'm going to give you the book.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the second part. I think it's the happiness and the success, the commitment that you have in yourself to follow through.
Exactly.
And absolutely what you were talking about earlier of when it got hard, I think that's going to ultimately bring you that fulfillment and the service of others as well. So I adopted Tom Bilyeu's fulfillment, and I love it. And I integrated it with my life, which has transformed my life. And he said, a bowl of ice cream brings you happiness. It does not bring me fulfillment. And he said, fulfillment is defined very simply. You work very hard for a set of skills that have meaning to you. You care about them in and of themselves, and those skills that you work so hard to obtain, they allow you to serve not only yourself, but others. That's the key to making this highly social animal fulfilled, and to have something that sustains over time. Fulfillment, right, is born of suffering. It's born of doing something that you don't want to do.
Yes.
So even in those dark moments, you can see beauty. You can experience the joy of being alive. You can experience the joy of having loved ones, because fulfillment endures. Now, you're not going to feel the neurochemical high of it all the time. But when you look inward and ask yourself, am I busting my ass to serve not only myself but others? Then it's really hard to keep feeling badly about yourself. Yeah. So don't focus on happiness. Focus on fulfillment. It'll make you impervious to the sways that are happiness.
Damn.
Joy in a sustained way. Joy that weathers the storms. I think that you have to cultivate and create your passion, which is a process.
It's a huge process.
Passion is what you give to you. Purpose is what you give to the world.
Yeah.
And when you connect those two, that is your why. From there, you can figure out how you're going to do it.
Yep.
From there, that's when you connect what you're going to do to connect the how, then why. That's why they say work backwards, because it starts with you.
It always starts with you.
Yeah, you do. You have to be able to go out there and be audacious and try and sample different things. When people ask me, and fail for sure. They're like, how do I find my passion? I'm like, dude, asking me how to find your passion makes the assumption that your passion has been lost somewhere.
How do I find it?
Your passion has not been lost. Your passion has never been developed.
Yes.
Passions are created, they're constructed, they're developed, and it starts with an interest. It's through trying, sampling, tasting, engaging, and then disengaging from multiple things that can create that level of interest. Now, once you have that interest, then you're going to engage with that interest. Yeah. Then it'll turn into a fascination. From that fascination, that's when you're going to go down that path of gaining mastery. In that path of gaining mastery of skills that empower you, it'll turn into a love and then into a full-blown passion. Now you're bringing the world your gifts, your potential, your greatness, because you've cultivated your sense of desire of what you want to give. And that also challenges you, because you're operating that neurological feedback loop of going out and getting more skills, and it being very empowering you, and it also empowers others.
You know what's crazy? I can see the influence of your amazing wife, Sylvia, and your own, natural ambition and knowledge, and the combination of the two. You know what I'm saying? The psychology and the ambition that you've always had is really combined to make a pretty convincing and powerful force as you guys continue to tackle everything that you're doing. So that's amazing.
It's a beauty to have an empowering mindset when I look back at my life 5 years ago. And the reason why I want to bring that up through engaging through different interests, by the way, is because I was really insecure in my early 20s. I was going job to job to job. Before I moved to California and I was in Michigan, I worked on an assembly line at a factory. It's called Plastech. It's a tier 3 supplier for General Motors. I literally built the quarter panels for the Lincoln Navigator on an assembly line. 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 7 to 3 on Saturdays, and I made $9 and something cents an hour because I saw everyone else do it. Wow. Just calcified into dogma. I just did what everyone else is doing. I feel like all of us are born unique, but most of us die copies.
Oh, for sure.
And there was something in me, and when I was at that factory, I'd go around to people, and I'd be like, I'm going to move to California one day. And they're like, no, once you're in a factory, you're done. And I remember I walked out.
Really?
And I walked out the back door, went home, quit, told my grandma. I lived with my grandma at that time. My mom called me. She's like, you quit? She's like, you're not doing anything with your life. You dropped out of college. If I pay for a one-way plane ticket to Michigan to California to live with your Aunt Tracy. She was in the Air Force. That's why she was in California.
Oh,
will you go?
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Your Aunt Tracy
my Aunt Tracy.
TV or?
My Aunt Tracy. My mom's youngest sister was in San Diego for Air Force, met Steve in Redondo Beach, moved up there. I was visiting her all the time after high school. I graduated high school in 2005. Through those 2 years, I was always visiting, and it planted that seed. Wow. And I knew something within myself. There was something in me that I knew I wanted to do. I had grand ambitions. I just no idea how I was going to get there.
So many people have that, though, and And that's why I always bring up Los Angeles is there's an opportunity here. And after traveling around the world for military, for non-military stuff, but you meet people and they're like, oh my God, you're from where?
Right.
And I'm trying to save up just so I can go there and try. Just to try. And from my perspective, you came here, you realized your potential, but also realized your faults, capitalized, and you've done it.
Right.
You've done a lot. You've done something that a lot of people want to do and want to do from all over the world. But we kind of diminish that level of success just where you are now. Just where you are now. You bought a house, you sold a house, you bought a new one, you know what I'm saying? And you and your wife are very successful in what you've done. And when you put that on a scale, when you put that on the grand scheme of things, and you put it on a world scope, like you guys are doing quite amazing. So I would never want anyone who's listening or whatever to ever downplay the capabilities of yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So
you can do so much.
You can.
It doesn't take, it's small commitments over time.
The belief, like what I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, you got to change your belief system. And it's how you think to yourself, what you focus on. You believe what you think. You can't get an apple from an orange tree. And then what you believe you experience is an emotion, and that emotion will dictate what action you do or do not take. Most of the times they judge themselves through a snapshot of what they're going. They tell themselves a story. It replays. It gets caught in this part of the brain. It's actually called the basal ganglia, which is your habits. They replay that over and over again, and you automate your decisions and choices through that story. You have to change the story that you tell to yourself about yourself.
Wow.
It's not going to go from gray sky to blue skies automatically.
Nope.
But if you say, like, it's possible, isn't there something that lives above you? Don't you start believing in yourself of, this can happen? I can make different choices. I can change. I can do different things. Just saying that to yourself. There's like this uplifting of a mood.
Feels great.
It feels very, very empowering. So I would definitely say that you have to change your belief system, and the way that you talk to yourself about yourself is the most empowering thing. You're never going to get rid of the negative voice in your head. It's been honed in there for millions of years.
Well, I always say you know the adage of we each have two wolves.
Oh yes, I love that one. That's a great analogy.
You know what I mean?
That's a great analogy. I love using my negative voice as a jujitsu flip into an empowering thought, because it's a trigger. It's always in there. I'm not good enough yet.
Yeah.
And so the sense of I'm not good enough actually is the very thing that triggers oh yeah, that's right. I have the identity of a learner. I don't value being good at something. I value the pursuit of greatness. So I'm going to go pursue that, because I value myself for pursuing that. And I value myself for the actionable steps that I'm taking.
The journey is amazing. There's so many small wins along the way that are just so fulfilling. And I personally, I need to do a better job of acknowledging those small wins along the way.
Micro wins.
You know?
Yeah, celebrating those micro wins.
Yeah.
And acknowledging yourself. I remember I heard Mel Robbins the other day, and she said, we're so good at celebrating our sports teams and each other and our spouses, but so how often do you actually celebrate yourself?
Whew.
And I think that's extremely powerful, because even when I look at myself on that, I'm like, wow. Because I'm always so focused on what can I do more of, rather than I have enough of this.
Agreed.
This is great. Look at.
Yeah.
I have a phone that I'm watching YouTube, and I get to walk 30 feet and get food out of my refrigerator.
Yes. Full fridge.
I'm above, and I'm getting fresh water.
Yep.
I have air in my lungs, food in my stomach, and a roof over my head. So I'm doing better than probably 70% of the population. If no one's ever traveled, you should travel. Broaden your perspective about. So that is definitely something to celebrate within yourself, of those micro wins.
Yeah.
You have to be able to celebrate those wins along the way. Because otherwise you're just going to be so myopically focused on becoming that thing, getting that tick on the box. You're going to lose everything and everyone along your path. You're going to push them along the way in hopes that you're going to feel a certain way when you get to that point. And the truth of the matter is, you will not feel any different about yourself. You have to earn self-worth. That is why it's not called other worth. It is not predicated upon other people. It is entirely built upon yourself.
Yep.
Self-worth, you do something that you don't want to do that leads to an outcome that you want, and you celebrate that so you've got that credibility with yourself. I hate doing the dishes. Every dish I do, past the point of not wanting to do it, I earn credibility with myself. Because I'm improving the story that I tell myself. And it's dead simple. You can be push-ups at the end of your bed.
There are going to be so many people who appreciate that alone.
Because they feel like self-confidence is a personality trait. Self-confidence is not a personality trait at all. It's actually a skill. Why is it a skill? Because when you can go from idea to action without the act of hesitation, that's when you build confidence. Yep. Is small acts of courage every single day that build confidence within yourself, of self-trust, of knowing when you say you're going to do something that you do it. That's why motivation is garbage. It's so fleeting. It's not going to be there. I'm going to start my diet tomorrow. Who wakes up tomorrow? 7 hours later? See, motivation is garbage.
It's gone.
It's never, ever there. The whole premise is pushing past the point of discomfort, is to build the neural circuitry in your brain of following through with commitments and promises. Mm-hmm. So when it gets hard, you say, I don't feel like doing it, but I'm just going to do it. It's part of who you are. It's your identity. Identity and values, what I said earlier, drives behavior.
Yep.
So as you're more pushing through the adversity, you build the skill of discipline. You build the skill of following through with commitments and promises through small repetition, and then it becomes a habit. Yep. And that habit becomes following through regardless of how you feel. That's how you're going to get things accomplished.
Oh, Eddie. I'm excited for the book, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
What a lot of you don't know is I hear this every day. Every day in our group chat, and I love it. More people need to hear about this. I'm going to close out by saying, you guys, if you have not already, go give Eddie Barrett a follow. Largely one of the most up-and-coming, influential people who you have not heard about.
Thank you. That was very kind of you.
You know? So, Eddie, why don't you just tell them, where they can find you, IG, and what's upcoming for you. And
yeah, you could follow me on my personal Instagram, Eddie Barrett. It is Barbells and Bulldogs. Don't ask me how I spell Barbells and Bulldogs because I will slaughter it. You can also follow me on LA Social Cafe, and as well as our website that we have for the business as well, lasocialcafe.com.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for listening. There's definitely going to be a follow with Eddie a few months from now just to see where he's at. See if you can visit a full-service restaurant locally out here in LA that Eddie's running. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll keep you posted with anything that happens over the next few months. Drop your comments. Let me know what you thought.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Later.